Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for coming to the 2024 winter session with Jennifer Eubank Yoga. Once you have acknowledged your recording, let's go ahead and get in our spaces. We have a basic spinal focused practice today. You can start lying down if you'd like, or you can start seated. We'll just take a few brief moments to transition from doing our jigsaw puzzles to settling into your space, setting everything aside. And take a few moments to get a feel for your room. It's a little dark today, a little cloudy. Notice how that affects the ambiance of your room. Maybe close your eyes. Maybe take some cleansing breaths. And as you feel, or when you feel you've established a sense of security and stability within your position, that's a good time to delve inward and take an honest assessment of where you are today in terms of your physicality. Note the flesh, the bones, the muscles. How does your body really feel today? And assess the energetic flow within your body. And I say flow, there are so many different flows throughout the body. Detect your organs within the structure, your lungs, your heart, your digestive organs. Those are the first, most obvious, not to mention the brain. These organs all affect our chakra energies because they're all aligned somewhere along the spine. Take note. Let's go about 5 more breaths. Then as you're ready, slowly blink, glide your eyes back open. Take a few moments, maybe kind of wriggle about. And then when you're ready, let's lie back on our backs. And you could have your props nearby. Feel free to leave your socks on. Though this pose is best done without any props under your body. However, if your head and neck maybe need a little something, that's fine. You could take a blanket and fold it in a compact manner, not too high up, so that when you lie back, you've got some protection for that head and neck, but they are neutral. Start with the legs bent. Maybe move your feet about. And then when you're ready, extend your legs out right in front of you to begin with. So you're kind of in a mountain-like position, arms by the sides, off the body. Then bring your arms wide, shoulder height, T position. And stay a few moments like that, allowing your chest, your shoulder girdle to open up. And you can stay like this for the rest of the time. Or if it's there for you, bend your elbows. Bend your elbows so that your arms are still on the floor, but your hands come closer to your head. So you're kind of like in goalpost arms. And sometimes I see people with the hands up in the air. That's not what we want to do. The arms are on the floor. And here's where that blanket can come in handy. It can be hard to lay the hand and the wrist and the forearm flattish on the floor. You might feel some height in the wrists. And if you do, the blanket can give you some support there. And let the feet kind of flail out to the sides there. So you've got a nice external rotation in your hips. You can even go a little wide with your feet if you'd like to open up your hip girdle a little bit more. So we're kind of like in a half starfish and half goalpost position. We'll call this gold starfish. I turned gold into gold. I don't know where that came from. Okay, so the reason why I picked this position to begin with is because it's a very nice way to let the spine settle into its natural, neutral shape. Your spine is not straight. It's got S curves from the neck down all the way into the tailbone. And we want to honor these curves, but we also want to hold our bodies throughout our daily lives to ensure that we're not letting those curves become pronounced. Like a hunched upper spine is something we call a dowager's hump. Kyphosis is the technical term for it. We all have a kyphotic curve, a concave curve up in our back there. But we don't want it to get too out of hand because that can affect the nerves, the surrounding tissues, the muscles, even the joints, and the bones and the organs that are eventually directly or indirectly attached to the spine. So our spinal shape can affect our organs, our muscles, We all know that. We've had back aches. You probably feel the small of your back a little away from the floor. That's a lordotic curve, lordosis. If you have lordosis, that means you have sway back. We want to minimize that concave curve, don't we? So we've got convex and concave curves. I think I called our upper back concave earlier. I meant to say convex. You might feel the small of your back settling, getting a little bit closer to the earth. Having the feet and the knees and the hips open a little bit can help that settling of that lower back. Arms and shoulders in this outward rotation can help settle your upper spine. Breath, a very important component of the subtle little actions that are hopefully occurring in your spine. So that said, how about we focus on the breath? Zero in on your inhales and your exhales. Find the rhythm, the cadence, and then see if you can start to lengthen either half of the breath so that you affect your rhythm, your cadence. And let's take 10 more nice long breaths. I'm going to lift up, but you stay right where you are. And by the way, if you ever feel like, okay, I need to change something, if you want to go back to T-arms, you could do that. Or if you wanted to bring your feet a little closer in or further out, do that. And notice how these deep, long, stretched out breaths are affecting primarily the curves of your spine. Again, we want to honor those convex and concave curves, but we don't want them to get out of hand. I learned this pose and holding this pose for a long time. I think it was Dr. Josh Axe. I think that's his name. And he suggests that you do this for about 15 minutes every day. Just lies, preferably on the floor, not on your mattress. You could do it in your bed when you first wake up, but if you do it on the floor, on a harder surface, your spine is more likely to settle. But he suggests doing it 15 minutes a day so that you can help keep your spine well aligned. Resolving any curves that are getting a little out of hand. You have 5 sections to your spine, starting at the tailbone. The tailbone is about 3 or 4 vertebrae. It's fused. It gets more and more fused as life goes on, and it's a leftover from early days, from thousands of years ago, but it does still serve some purpose, and then it does help you bear weight from the upper body. So it helps you distribute your weight. And you've got your sacrum, which is also fused very wide in between your hips. And this pose is great to help you widen that sacrum. Notice your lumbar spine, your lower back. Is it getting a little bit closer to the earth? Then you've got your thoracic spine to which all the ribs attach. There are 12. Either way, there are 5 in your lumbar and 5 in your sacrum as well. And then above your thoracic spine is your cervical spine. You've got 7 vertebrae there. And it's the most mobile part of your spine for obvious reasons. Your lumbar is the least mobile. It's more of a stabilizer. So each of these vertebrae is shaped differently. They look similar, but every single one is different from the next. Some are large and thick and heavy. Some are thin and narrow, depending where they are. So a couple more of these breaths. Ancient yogis realized that there's a lot of action emanating along our spinal column. And they did this without x-rays and MRIs and advanced technologies. They did this all on intuition and experience, paying attention. So go ahead, coming back to your regular breath if you haven't already. Bring your arms back to T position. Stay there for a breath or two. And then bring your arms closer to the body. Stay there a breath or two. And then bring your feet closer in. And stay there a breath or two. Bit by bit, coming back to that basic reclining mountain pose. And then when you're ready, bending your knees. Staying there for a breath or two. Two-legged table. And then take your right ankle and put it on your left knee. And you decide where you want your arms. You might want them close to your body, or you might want to bring them out a little bit. Because what we'll do next are some twists. Keeping the right ankle on that left knee the whole time. Twist back and forth. Start with just the leg structure. Touching down the knee and then the foot, depending on what side you're going. And, maybe they don't come all the way down to the floor. That's okay. Maybe one does more than the other. And then start with the head in the opposite direction. Go right ahead and start in the opposite direction. And we're moving our hip girdle, our shoulder girdle. But ultimately, what we're doing is we're twisting our spine. And it can twist right, it can twist left. Do a couple more like this. Coming back to center as you're ready. Take a couple of breaths. Bring that foot down. Take a couple of breaths. Notice if your hips feel a little different. And then switch. Now the other foot comes up, left ankle on the right knee. Brace yourselves. And then start that twisting movement. First with just the legs. So you can get used to that. And then add the head into it as you're ready. These are similar to our windshield wipers, but because one leg is up on the knee, you get a little bit more leverage, and you might be able to twist a little bit more deeply. And thereby you might feel the hips and those shoulders opening up a little bit more, waking up. And you can understand the relationship between these girdles and your spine. One or two more, take your time. And then we'll come back to center. Keep the foot on the knee for a breath or two. Notice. And then take the foot down and take a couple of breaths there. Notice. This is tapping into our root chakra, by the way, not rushing and taking our time. We'll get more into that next week when we focus on the root chakra. So when you're ready, let's do this. Let's bring your arms close to the body if you had them out. And let's do some cats and cows from this position, which are basically pelvic tilts. And you're curving your spine towards the floor and away from the floor. And I wish I didn't say pelvic tilts because that's more about the pelvis. Yes, your pelvis is tilting, but so should your shoulder girdle, pressing into the floor, coming away from the floor, depending on where your spine is curving towards. So your hips are not, you're not lifting up, you're curving the spine back and forth. I want to make sure you understand. It's kind of an awkward way to do your cats and cows. I feel like you don't get quite as much distance covered. Let's do a few more. But having the floor there for feedback can be vital, interesting. And come back to stillness when you're ready. Draw your belly in to engage your core muscles to help you hug your knees into your chest. And then as you're ready, bring your knees as close as you can to your body. Maybe even your hips kind of come off the floor, your bum. That's fine. And rock from side to side. And you can maybe feel your ribs and your thoracic spine getting a little massage on the floor there. And then next time you're in the center, come to stillness and then bring the knees a little further away from the body. And then once again, start your rocking from side to side. And now that the knees are further away, you can feel the lower part of your spine, your lumbar spine, maybe getting that massage. You might even feel your sacrum in between the hips, depending on how far away the knees are. But that can strain your back, so you decide. It's a nice way for you to kind of get to know your spine. Maybe you can even detect your tailbone at the very end, beneath the sacrum there. Come Come back to center. And then let's do our rocking the other way. And start small. Draw the belly in because this can be kind of tough on your low back. And you don't have to do this if you don't want to. We're going to make our way up to a seated position. So if you want, you can roll to one side and hoist up. Otherwise, maybe do a few more of these, belly drawn in, nice little spine massage. I'm going to do a few more just because, when I first get started, I'm like, oh, I can't do this. But then I get really revved up. I feel like I could do it for another half hour. So take your time with that. We're back up. And maybe sit on a blanket if that makes sitting easier for you. Okay, so our spine moves in 6 different directions. I've said that many times, but maybe it's been a while. We twist it from side to side. We curve from front to back. Now we'll curve from side to side by way of our rainbows. Sit nice and tall. Find a good rooted position, grounding within the earth, rising up from that earth. Bring your hands out to the sides, tent pulling your fingers, and spend a few breaths and notice if pressing the fingers into the floor, the sits bones into the floor, maybe that gives you more of a sense of groundedness, a more direct connection with the earth. There's your root chakra, located in your tailbone. Press both sits bones into the floor, draw your belly in, and tilt your pelvis slightly forward. Maybe you can feel your tailbone touching down, making for a little tripod between your sits bones and that tailbone. 3 little bones touching down. Maybe that gives you more groundedness. Let's go one more breath here. And then when you're ready, inhale your arms up. Exhale the right one down. Inhale, reach up, lengthen that spine before you curve over. Reach up and make your way over to the other side, lengthening your spine before you curve it. Back and forth, find a rhythm and a range that's going to work for you. Painting the rainbows. We'll do these every week. We tend to do these each week anyway, but I definitely do them during chakra studies because, the chakras these days, there are 114 different chakras within your body, but we are going to just study the 7 main chakras. And in the last century, someone in the 70s decided, the colors of the rainbow coincide with the colors or those 7 chakras. So the rainbow analogy to the chakras is not an ancient interpretation of the chakras. It's more of a more modern viewpoint. Let's go a few more. We'll go over that more next week. Let's do this. Next time you're to the right, let's linger for a few breaths and take a couple of lingering breaths to see, what's happening with that curve. You can even look up or you could even look down and notice what that does for that curve. Let's go one more breath. Bring the head back if you're looking up or down. And then make your way over to the other side. Settle in, stabilize. There's your root chakra. And then you can explore little subtle changes. There's your second chakra. You may be looking up or down, moving that head, maybe deepening your stretch. And then we'll make our way back to center, and we'll take a couple of breaths. And then let's get onto the floor. Let's get onto our bellies. And we'll do a brief cobra exploration, just to do a little bit of more curving back and forth, because I feel like those tilts that we did earlier didn't really do that spine justice. So on your belly, legs behind you, they can be close or they can be far apart. Toes can be curled or not. I like to keep them curled because that gives me more strength, more foundation. Hands start under your shoulders, but then see if you can slide them back so they're more in line with your ribs, and try to bring your elbows in so you're not using your arms to lift your body. And when you're ready, slowly lift your heart, curving your spine, extending your spine into a cobra. Try not to go to your 100% cobra right away. Try to soften your shoulders. Keep your head and neck neutral. Sometimes people throw their head back. That puts strain on your neck. Find a nice even arc from your tailbone all the way up to your neck. And when you're ready, slowly come back down, one vertebra at a time. And take a couple of breaths. Maybe move your hands, or maybe keep them right where they are, because we'll do a couple more. So when you're ready, get a good strong body and use an inhale to lift up into your cobra. And, if you'd like to do them dynamically, inhaling and exhaling back out of it, like we've done in the past, you could do that, or you could stay in a static cobra. You could even turn it into a locust pose and bring your hands to the back, hands off the floor. Then you really know you're using the muscles around your spine there. Great way to strengthen the muscles around the spine. And we'll rest, maybe do a little bit of movement, especially in the hips and the shoulders. That can help you loosen up any compression that you might still be feeling in your spine. And then we'll do one more. Take your time. Strengthen your legs, engage your glute muscles, your torso muscles, draw your belly in to help you lift that heart. The whole body is working, especially those deep core muscles. Not just the abdominal, the back, and the chest muscles, but those deep, tiny muscles that attach directly to the spine, called your infraspinatus muscles. Squeeze your spine. Squeeze your spine. And next time you exhale, we can come back down. One breath at a time, one vertebra at a time. And let's land in a crocodile, which, if you think about it, is similar to what we did earlier. But now we're in a prone position. Elbows bent, stacked hands. Try to stack the hands in a way that your head is close to the floor. So If your arms are really close and your head is up high, that's not going to give you a chance to settle your spine as much as coming lower to the earth. Let's take 5 breaths here. And then when you're ready, let's lift back up into table. And this is a good time to take off your socks if you still have on socks. And what we'll do next are some downward dogs. Get my hair clip. So whenever you're ready, take your time. Start to play around with your downward facing dogs. Easing up into your first dog, putting some little tiny motions into it. And as you come into your first dog, if you decide, I'd rather do a wall version, you are more than welcome to explore your wall version. You even have time to play with both. And you can explore with some movement, some changes of the feet and the hands. If your feet and your hands are very close to one another, that can limit the width of that shoulder and hip area. And that can maybe limit the lengthening that one can achieve in this position. So play around with your feet and your hands and where they are positioned, either on the wall or the floor, so that you can get the leverage to lengthen that spine. That's one of the main goals of our down dog, is to lengthen our spine. Feel it grow, feel it become more spacious. Resting whenever you so desire. Take your time. And this is another great pose to help you align your spine. You might even feel a little bit of a back bend motion, like your cobras. Maybe you can feel a cobra-like action in your down dog. So your spine can twist, it can curve, it can extend, it can fold. And as we extend, we put a little bit of back bend in it. And that might help you lengthen your spine. So, if you're leaning more over to your hands, you probably got a hunched back and hunched shoulders. And that can further reinforce a kyphotic back. You want your upper back to be nice and long and spacious rather than hunched over. So see if you might get a little bit of a back bendy kind of feel. You can bend your knees, lift your heels, drop the head. So the more you extend your spine in your down dog, the more you're bringing your body to the back of the mat rather than the front. Notice how that can affect that shoulder girdle too. Let's go about 5 more breaths. Play around with it. Take your time. Resting as you so desire. And we'll go a few more breaths. And then we'll think about making our way up to a standing position at some point. So maybe you're resting. You could take a couple more breaths there. And maybe use your down dog to get back up. So you can turn that down dog to your forward fold. And then to protect your spine, make sure you use the legs in addition to your upper body strength to lift that torso up. And don't ask the spine to do all the lifting. All right? We don't want to curl up. We want to lift up. And once we're up, let's take a few moments to get the lay of the land. Take care of your basic needs. And what's the room like? How does your body feel now that it's standing? Move around a little bit. Wake up the feet. Wake up the knees. And then when you're ready, come to the front of your mats, the top of your mat. I will face you, but sometimes I'll turn to the sides, depending. We'll just do a basic warrior flow just to kind of strengthen our spinal muscles and our torso muscles, in addition to those leg muscles. So whenever you're ready, let's actually start with a chair. So use your breath to form your first chair pose. Good strong legs, strong glutes, belly drawn in, heart lifted. Let's lift back up and make our way into a forward fold. Hinge at the hips. Keep your spine nice and long and your back flat as you make your way down, so you don't curve down into your forward fold. Hands somewhere on the floor, feet or block. Drop that head. Feel that spine lengthen. See if you can lift your tailbone towards the ceiling as you let the cervical spine and your crown drop to the floor. One more breath. And then bend the knees to help you use your leg muscles. Press the feet into the floor to help you use your leg muscles. Hinge at the hips, lifting back up, going into another chair. Maybe go a little deeper this time. Let's go into cactus arms. Let's do a few flies. Strong legs, strong glutes, belly drawn in, heart lifted. Let's do one more. Next inhale, let's lift up. Let's do one more forward fold. Swan dive. Nice long spine, hinging at the hips. Avoid hunching as you come down. And then when you're ready, let's lift back up, hinging at the hips. And we'll land in mountain pose, hands first in front of the heart, then down by the sides. Let's take 2 breaths. Let's step the right foot back and make our way into a warrior one. And even though one leg is bent and one leg is extended, can you keep your hips fairly level so that your spine is balanced? In other words, you're not hiking one hip up over the other. Hips are even from left to right, even though one is probably extended out a little bit. Feel that turn in your back hip. Let's do cactus arms. Let's do a little bit of the back bend. So when you're ready, bring the hands to the back, interlace the fingers, press the feet into the floor, draw the belly in, lift your heart for a little bit more of a spinal extension. A little bit of a back bend. And then you can return to your warrior one. And then let's open out to a warrior two. Making sure that the feet are lined up. Front heel is lined up with that back foot somehow, some way to keep your hips even, to protect that spine. Let's do a side angle. Bringing the elbow down to the knee. Maybe the hand goes down to the floor. Root into the floor to lift back up into your warrior two. Let's do another side. Let's turn that into a triangle, extending that front leg and lifting the top arm up towards the ceiling rather than over the head. Let's go back to our warrior, our side angle, our side warrior. Let's backstroke back up to our warrior two. Let's turn this into a sun, another little spinal extension. Coming back to our warrior two. And then let's do a forward fold. Let's go ahead and bring your hands to the back, turn to face that front leg. Maybe your back foot needs to change a little bit. Stabilize the feet, good strong legs to help you hinge at the hips, to bring that torso down, keeping your spine nice and long rather than hunched. Come back up as you're ready. Returning to your warrior two, arms out to the sides. And then step forward as you're ready. And let's take 5 breaths, because that was a nice long sequence there. And you're probably feeling one leg a little bit more than the other. Feel those hips balancing back, because one was flexed, one was extended, and that's going to affect your spine and your torso. Let's go one more breath. And then we'll do the other side. So let's start with a few chairs to get us good and balanced and even in our energies. That can go a long way in helping us build our asymmetrical warrior ones. Go to cactus arms. Let's come back up and make our way into a forward fold. Trying to keep that back nice and long. I'll do it from the side so you can see what I mean. So I'm not hunching as I fold forward. I'm lengthening as I fold forward. One or two more breaths. Rooting into the floor with the feet. There's your root chakra to help you deal with the changes and the challenges. We'll reverse that swan dive. Let's make our way into another chair. Let's do some movement. Do a little different movement this time. Let's bring the arms up and down. Root into the feet, strengthen those legs. Keep your belly drawn in. Heart lifted. Let's do one more. Let's do another forward fold. Let's stay here for 2 breaths. And let's lift up as you're ready. Root the feet, use those legs. Hinge at the hips. Long spine as you lift back up. Reversing that swan dive to help you open up your upper back and chest. Coming back to your mountain. Let's stay here for 2 breaths. And then when you're ready, step your left foot back and make your way bit by bit into your warrior one. Strong legs, good solid earthly connection to help you rise. Let's do cactus arms, opening up that chest girdle, your shoulder girdle, your upper back, and that can help you go into your back bend on the side, bringing the hands behind the back, interlacing the fingers, rooting to curve and lift. Extension of the spine here. And then we'll take it back to a neutral spine, although it's somewhat extended in a warrior one. Let's open out to a warrior two. Take your time with that transition, bit by bit. Let's go into our side angle. Elbow to knee or hand to floor or hand to block. I'm bringing hand to knee because this is harder for me on this side. What's going to work for you? Let's go back up to our warrior two. Breath or two here. Back to our warrior two, side angle, side warrior. And then we can turn that into a triangle, which means that front leg becomes straightened or extended, and that upper arm reaches up towards the ceiling. Maybe you can turn and look at that arm, that hand. Maybe go deeper in your triangle. Turn it back to your side as you're ready. Turn that into your warrior two as you're ready. Let's do a sun. Take your time with these things. Feet are good and rooted, solidly connected to the floor the entire time to help you rise to these challenges and to protect your spine, as well as strengthen your spine. So now we're back to mountain. Let's take 5 breaths. Try to take the first couple of breaths in a still mountain so your body settles back on its own. Avoid rushing, moving your body. You might feel some kinks that need some attention, but it might just be time and breath is all it needs. Then you can make a decision to, kind of shake about. Maybe lift the feet some. I'm going to check our time. See how we're doing. Oh my goodness. Yes, we need to sit back down. Okay, so if you need a little something in your room before you sit back down, do so. Let's meet in Dandasana staff pose, which we'll do probably every week in our chakra studies. The chakras being an ancient energetic belief system. Ancient yogis realized there's a lot of action up and down the spine, and technology has shown us there are nerve clusters at each of these chakras. So science is starting to back up these theories. And these energies along the spine affect our behavior, affects how we interact with others. So Dandasana, staff pose, named for our spine. Good strong legs. So if you point the toes towards the ceiling, then you're engaging those leg muscles. Knees might be off the floor, but like that pose that we did in the very beginning, if you give it time and attention and breath and return to this pose over and over and over again, you might feel those knees settling closer and closer to the floor, which means you're extending your hamstrings. And the more space you have in both your shoulder and hip girdle, the more your spine will, the more support and freedom of movement it will have. But the same thing goes for the arms and legs. So the stronger the legs and the arms, the more supported your spine will be. Notice how strong legs can help you sit up straight, for lack of a better word. Let's return to the idea of that tripod in our base. You've got your sits bones. Draw the belly in and tilt your pelvis slightly forward. Maybe you can feel that tailbone, which comes into the body, reaching down for the floor, creating that tripod effect. So your legs and your sits bones are both giving you good foundation. That's your root chakra. Do you feel supported? Do you feel strong? Do you feel capable? Are you present? Are you patient? Let's go 3 more breaths here. Now, before we leave this pose, notice if anything about it has become a little bit more palatable, a little bit more clarified to you. Shake out your legs as you're ready. Tap them out. Feel free to keep your socks on if you've already put them on like I did, because we're not going to do much now that we're down on the floor. So let's go ahead and lie back. And always, whenever we lie back, for that first time after we've been standing up for a while, I want you to always have the knees bent so that when you lie back, you land in a 2-legged table, not an extended, not in a Shavasana position. We're not ready for Shavasana yet. We don't want to take our nervous system there yet. We also don't want to strain our back. We want to lie down and get used to being lying down on our backs with some support with those knees bent. It's so important. How does your spine feel? Let's take 3 more breaths. And then when you're ready, take your time, bring your arms shoulder height again. If it's there for you. Now, if it's hard for you to bring them all the way up, you can keep them a little bit further down. And if you can go one step further, go into those cactus arms again, if it's there for you. And then if it's there for you, take one of your hands and bring it down while the other one is up. So you're in more like cactus arms, okay? Because one hand is down and one is up. And then switch them. And do that a couple times. I can't help but think of that movie, The Fly. I always think of The Fly. When he was turning into a fly, his arms were like this. So do a couple more of those, going back and forth. I notice how that affects your spine. And then if it's there for you, start to bring some twisting into it. Ooh, let's do this. Let's bring one foot up on the knee and do that version we first did in the very beginning. So ankle up on the knee. And we're twisting back and forth. And if it's there for us, doing that arm action. And you can keep the arms still if this is too much. And see if you can bring the head into it. Let's do a few more of these. Complex twisting action here. A lot going on. But this might open your hip and your shoulder girdle to make more basic twists more accessible to your spine. 1 or 2 more. Come back to center. Bring the foot down. Switch feet. And then as you're ready, start bringing the knees back and forth. And then if it's there for you, bring the arms into it. And if it's there for you, bring the head and neck into it. And we'll do just a few more of these. Coming back to center as you're ready. What comes back to center first? Figure it out. And then bit by bit, slowly but surely, bring your body back to a 2-legged table. And take a couple of breaths in your 2-legged table. And that was some nice twisting. Let's do Apanasana. Let's do some rocking and some rolling, changing the position of your legs so that you can change the sensations of the massage effort you're getting by pressing up against the floor. Different parts of your spine. And notice other parts are getting massaged too, the ribs, the shoulders, the hips. And then let's go into happy baby. So from Apanasana, you extend the legs up towards the ceiling and you bring the arms on the inside of your legs, but then you take the outside of the legs with the hands. Maybe you can reach your feet. I'm not quite there yet. And you could do some rocking and some rolling. And you can stay there. I'm actually going to go back to my Alpanasana because my new hips didn't like that happy baby this morning. So I'm going to honor that. I stayed long enough to know, okay, yeah, I'm not ready. Finding something more suitable. And that's invoking my chakras into my practice. Safety is our number one goal. That's part of our root chakra, feeling safe and stable. Couple more breaths. Take your time. Come back to your two-legged table when you're ready. Stay there for a few breaths. And then whenever you're ready, make your way into a Shavasana position. Extend your limbs. And as you extend your limbs, your arms and your legs, notice how your spine, your internal limb, lengthens and settles. And if you bring a little width to your pelvis, your hips, your shoulders, your chest and back, that width in those areas might give you a little bit more of a chance to lengthen your spine, not straighten it, but lengthen it. Notice if it feels a little bit more supple and flexible after those twists. Maybe it feels more spacious after those extensions. Notice the curves of your spine. Notice which parts of your spine have more connection to the earth. Probably your tailbone and sacrum area. Not so much in your lumbar spine. Quite a lot in your thoracic spine. Then notice your cervical spine, your neck, kind of curving away from the floor. Maybe you could even tuck your chin a little bit in so that you can lengthen your neck and feel more of your neck touching down or trying to touch down, which means the crown of the head is reaching for the wall behind you rather than the floor beneath you. Try to soften your shoulders, your chest and back. Soften your hips. Knees and ankles. quiet your breath. And stay a few more breaths here. Notice if you've subconsciously tensed up your body and you're subconsciously pulling away from the floor. Take a few more breaths to help you release and let go, melting into the floor. See how that can help you settle that spine. And as you're ready, slowly begin to deepen your breath. Slowly build on that breath. Slowly bring tiny movements back to your body. Bit by bit, returning to a two-legged table when you're ready. We don't want to rock up now. We want to roll to one side and come up slowly and quietly and safely. Bit by bit, returning to whatever seated position with whatever props you would like. And we have another minute left. So I thought what we would do is a mudra series that promotes awareness and understanding of your spine. So we start with our hands. We tuck our thumb and under our other fingers, and we put our hands together like this in front of our pelvic area, in front of actually in front of our belly. So hands, the thumbs are tucked under, and this represents your tailbone, the base of your spine, and its fused existence. And then we release the thumbs and we touch the thumbs, the tips of the thumbs. So we have to widen the hands to do this. This represents the widening of the spine and the sacral area. And then turn your thumbs up like Fonzie. And this represents the height and the length and the little extension of your spine. Notice how your thumbs are slightly curved. And then turn the thumbs out so they are facing the wall on either side of you. And this represents your upper spine area and the width of the shoulders. So if you want to do that one more time, you can start closed, widening, lifting, and opening. So play with that and see how that changes the sensations in your spine and your shoulders. Powerful stuff, those mudras. Hands in front of your hearts when you're ready. May you be safe, happy, and free from suffering. Thank you for your practice. Namaste. Hmm. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll turn off that recording.